under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the Nigerian stock market has had the biggest gains and the biggest rally since 1999 under any civilian president. Now, of course, we do have some numbers here. We do have some numbers. And the number is, of course, this is coming in from nairametrics.com. The numbers are under President Buhari, we only had a 4.47% gain. I want you to understand something. And under President Goodluck Jonathan, we had a 47% rally in 2013. Under Yar'Adua, we had 49%. And then under President Obasanjo in 2001, we had a 115% rally on the Nigerian stock market. But under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we have had 136%. If I'm not mistaken, where's that number? So yes, we have had 136% rally under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu since the return of, to democracy in 1999. So you may ask, what is causing this rally? The number one thing that is causing this rally is that a lot of the money that were printed under President Buhari have now found new homes in the Nigerian stock market. Now, of course, when you print a lot of money, it is bound to be inflationary. It's bound to cause inflation. Of course, it reduces the purchasing power of the currency that you're printing more of it. Now, with that, you can now see that a lot of those money have somehow found their ways into the Nigerian stock market. However, why it found its way into the Nigerian stock market is that prior to the assumption of office of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we had two different exchange rates. Those two different exchange rates, you had the one that was used in the bank and the one that was used in the black market. And of course, if you wanted to get dollar, you wouldn't be able to get it from the banks. So what now happened was that when President Tinubu came in, he came up with policies, or he enacted a policy that abolished the dual exchange rate, and we had a unified exchange rate. Now, with the unification of the exchange rate, it now means that any form of arbitrage. So an arbitrage is simply a situation where you buy one currency in one market or from one broker, and you go to another market and you sell it in order to profit from the disparity. So there has always been a naira disparity, a dollar to naira disparity between the parallel market and, of course, the official rate. So when he abolished that, that room that was created for arbitraging, eliminated, any form of investors pulling money from, like all of those money that were printed, and then they use that money to head over and buy dollars. Because what they would naturally do is when they get a lot of those money, they just pack the money in dollars. They don't pack the money in our stock markets or anything like that. So a lot of those monies that were printed and given as credit to different local and institutional investors and retail investors as well, those monies, instead of being used to purchase dollar, those money have now been used to purchase stocks. And of course, those money have been packed in the stock market. So that is exactly why you're not seeing. And if you notice, it's been a long time since we saw a rally in the dollar. Like what we're hearing, dollar is now 1.9, it's 1.7, it's 1 this, it's 1 that, it's 1.8, it's 2,000. You even touched 2,000, in a certain period of time. So that is because that discrepancy has been eliminated. So if you go to the central bank, for instance, because you have connections and you get dollars, there is no open market for you to sell it. There's no parallel market for you to sell it. So a lot of those monies have been taken and they've been parked in the stock market. Also, there has been a recapitalization of the banks. So the central bank has directed that all banks, of course, operating at the commercial level, I even think it got down to the microfinance banks as well, you recapitalize. That means you expand your capital base, and of course, you go and seek for more capital. And over the next maybe 2 to 3 years, it is projected that 5 trillion naira is going to hit the Nigerian banking system. So one of the things you also have to know is this recapitalization as well has created room for the injection of capital into the banking system. And this type of reform, of course, very good job done there by Yemi Cardoso, the central bank governor. Very good job done there, of course. So this recapitalization as well has equally pushed more capital to the banking sector. And that is why you see the likes of GT Bank that were trading at, I think GT Bank prior to the recapitalization was trading at around 43 naira or thereabout. Now it's almost double that rate at maybe 80-something naira or 70-something naira. So this is exactly what is going on. However, all of these things that we are saying looks good on paper. It is favorable for only the elites, for the people who understand how to move money and where to put their money in. Of course, we have a class going on today, the beginner series. We're going to discuss all of this in depth in class today. Now, all of this is extremely good for the rich. We're going to be discussing that in great detail in class today as well. However, to the average Joe on the street, all of this progress does not get to the common man. If it does anything, it has widened the gap between the rich and the poor. That is one thing that this has actually done. It has widened the gap between the rich and the poor. However, it is the system of money. That is the financial system of the world. That is what capitalism is. That is simply the definition of capitalism. So it is simply up to you to get the knowledge required to be able to profit from all of these systems. You cannot sit and complain about the system and what is going on in the system when it is simply there for you to play in the system. There is nobody stopping you from taking your 10, 15, 20, or 100,000 naira you have in your account and purchasing shares, or taking that and purchasing bonds, or taking that and purchasing treasuries. There's nobody stopping you from doing that. And if you notice over the course of the past few months, we've seen the dollar come down from 1,565 naira down to maybe 1,520. We've seen a decline in the dollar. Also, another crucial factor that is, spurring the gain in the Nigerian stock market is that globally there is a weakening of the dollar, which is, of course, caused by tensions between the US and China and their trade war and all of these things. We've seen a weakening of the dollar. Now that the dollar has weakened, you have to also understand that with the weakening of the dollar, we've seen that reflected here in our currency as well. We've seen the dollar get weaker against the naira. We've seen the naira gain strength against the dollar. So it makes it less attractive for you to want to get into that market and equally speculate there as well. And of course, buying and expecting that it's going to rise in 2-3 days or 1 week or 2 weeks, and then you're expecting to profit off of that because the dollar is steadily declining. So everybody is coming back to put their money in naira. So that is also another crucial factor that is causing that as well. Also, if you notice, this aspect is not on any problem I find is anywhere else. The US stock market has significantly rallied. The US stock market has seen a very, very, very serious rally. And I can tell you for free, one of the investment methods or one of the investment models that a lot of the institutions in Nigeria would likely deploy is that when they get capital, there's a very serious chance that they're going to take that capital and invest in the US stock market. And as the US stock market rallies, you're also going to see a rally in the Nigerian stock market because a lot of the companies who would have their capital invested in US companies looking to get, gains or capital gains on all of those things. So, ladies and gentlemen, give me a follow. I've tried to keep this video as short as possible, but if you are a trader, you must have an in-depth understanding of fundamental analysis. You must have an in-depth understanding of how the system of money works, money supply. Primarily, of course, money supply is playing a very huge role in all of this. So you must have an in-depth understanding of money supply, of how money works, and how the global financial engine works. So give me a follow, like this video, and of course today we're going to get to the beginner trading series that we've started, and I'm inviting you to register for the beginner traders class and join us, in learning how to trade the markets. Cheers, and I'll see you on the next one.